Um, Welcome to our Great Lakes Fire Leadership Think Tank. Glad to have you guys back again. We haven't met since November, and it's hopefully everyone had a good holiday. Oh yeah, Matt Barnes from California too. I forgot about Matt on here. So we got everybody this morning. But continuing along the command and the command competence topic, I thought it was good to bring on two longtime friends, Ricky Riley, who I got to know both of them through Blue Card, and Larry Schultz. Larry was the deputy in DC at the time when he came out to Clay and hung out with us for a week, and Ricky was in Clearwater at the time. But good friends, great fire chiefs, and really understand the command element of what we do and command competence. So I don't know, Ricky, or you or Larry going to lead this, and whoever it is, I'll just turn it over to you and let you guys go from there. If you have questions, put them in the chat or open up your mics, and we'll take questions throughout. So it should be a good discussion on the Leonardtown line of duty death.
Yeah, Larry does all the talking for us too.
Everybody knows that Ricky is the behind the scene guy who is equally out in front with everything that I do as well. So, but yeah, Brian, thank you again. I'll say it. Good to everybody on this call for doing what you're doing. I was surprised to hear about it. Brian and Ricky and I have talked over and over again about LODDs and how important they are in our careers. So to see a group like this, unbelievable. So kudos to everybody. I know we have a finite set of time, so a couple things from a run through standpoint. I'd like to give you a little background information on St. Mary's County. And then Ricky and I will run through, it's about 26 slides. Now, not all slides have a lot of content to it, or, they don't get, shocked by 26 slides. But there's one thing I'll say about this incident, and it made it easy for Ricky and I and the team to really identify what occurred here. But unlike most LODDs, we have video from soup to nuts. We'll watch a video of Bryce falling through the floor. We'll see a video of conditions on arrival and all throughout. So I think what will make this a little bit unique for you guys is the live video that we have that was captured from several helmet cams throughout the incident. I will say that the collapse and seeing Bryce go through the floor and the immediate seconds around that is a little tough to watch. But again, and I know Brian is right on board with this. Ricky and I have always been a punch right to the nose, with the understanding of how difficult it is to do this job at all levels. So little precursor there. The first point I'll start with is this, and it's written right in the executive summary. And that is when we put this report together, we had unlimited video to watch what happened. We knew when the fire started. We knew the time of basically how long it burnt before the fire department got there. We saw the structure. We could see when it was going to collapse. All those things were easy for us to see because we sat in our comfortable offices and we watched hours of videos and listened to countless audio transcripts of interviews we did with these people. We knew everything about it. We knew the answers to the test before the test was given, and nobody on that fire ground knew that. Nobody had that information. And had they had that information, we would like to think that things would have been different, but they didn't, and we did. St. Mary's County is in the southernmost part of Maryland. It is a beautiful, right alongside the Chesapeake Bay, a beautiful, largely farming and waterman community, fishing, crabbing, those type of things. It also houses the Naval District of Washington's Pax River Air Station. They are an outfit that largely focuses on all things electronic and flying of the Ricky, jump in. What's the airplane that they Osprey? Is that what it is?
Yeah, the Osprey. Yeah.
Yeah. They're about an hour outside of DC, which means that it is a big commuting town. A lot of people live in St. Mary's that work in the district and federal government, but they commute out to St. Mary's. For the quality of life. I will also say that St. Mary's County is one of several in the southern part of Maryland that are about an hour to 90 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. And therefore, the volunteers in those systems get a very big influence from the District of Columbia, Prince George's County, Fairfax, Virginia, Anne Arundel County, all the big departments up here have a lot of influence on the operations of how the place's south runs.
Did you?
And it's not good. And it's not
When
good.
you had them empty the hazmat,
Right.
did you have them drain?
It's not always good influence, but it does have that type of
I just
influence.
had them.
I just did today.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just had them.
I didn't know whether you knew.
The only career or paid employees in St. Mary's are the Office of Emergency Management, the 911 Center, and the EMS portion of the system is largely paid. There is no control over the 7 volunteer companies there. They are all independent 501c3s. And there is no one entity that really brings those together. There's certainly no county oversight from the Board of Supervisors or the county administrator. So they are legitimate, just independent volunteer fire companies. We'll talk largely about the Leonardtown Volunteer Fire Department. I want to give them kudos because they're the ones that reached out and wanted this report done. They're a small independent fire company. They wanted an independent report. I had just got done doing a multi-year LODD and certainly did not want to jump into this again. But they really did make a compelling cause that if they felt that there wasn't someone or someones that they knew would be brutally honest, regardless of the circumstances, that there would be no chance of improving this system. So a little bit of guilt there. Of course, Ricky was the one, I reached right out to him. And then there were 4 other people who joined the committee as well. But Leonardtown Volunteer Fire Company does have, it's a pretty well-staffed volunteer fire company. It is full of career people from all the surrounding jurisdictions, and that will play largely, that will play a part in this. There's the DC Fire Department influence, not excellent influence. In other words, the parts of influence are either exaggerated, misunderstood, or just out and out incorrect. There's several members there who are career people in Prince George's County and surrounding jurisdictions as well. And it is very young. Most of the people on the first engine and truck are 16 and 17-year-old kids. And I'll say this, listening to them share their story was both heartbreaking and angering all at the same time. So, but it's a very young group of kids there. And the incident commander, who is the chief of that company, Chris Bell. It's also an important piece. Chris is a career firefighter in Prince George's County, as well as the volunteer fire chief in St. Mary's. Bryce Trossback grew up in St. Mary's County. He, like many of us, has a family that is largely connected to the fire service. His father has been a long time volunteer member. His brother is a volunteer and a career firefighter, and his uncles and cousins. The Trossback name is very big in St. Mary's, and the department or the family is largely connected in many different departments. Bryce joined the Leonardtown Volunteer Fire Department at age 16. The interesting piece here is this is Leonardtown's first dude. This incident occurs in the Leonardtown Fire District. Bryce is also a career firefighter at the Naval District of Washington, Pax River Station. So this particular day, Bryce Trossback was the acting officer on the engine out of the Naval District into the district where his volunteer station is. He had a fiance named Cheyenne. Bryce was 25 years old when he died, and the cause of death was thermal burns secondary to compressional asphyxia. Bryce was largely crushed to death by burning debris, and that's where the thermal burns due to secondary to compressional asphyxia comes in. He had no carboxyhemoglobin, so there is no indication that he took a feed on the respiratory side of things. As far as his airway goes, there were signs of, excuse me, there were signs of petechiae in the airway. Petechiae is capillary bleeding, right? The compression pushes blood out of the capillary level. So again, the autopsy suggests that why burns did play a role, primary was asphyxiation due to compression. There are three potential causes for this. It's undetermined. Ricky and I certainly have our strong opinions on it, but I'll just say this, that it could have been caused by lightning strike. I'll provide a little bit more detail. It could have been electrical. The day of the fire, a company was there to install lighting on the second floor, recessed lighting. There's no indication that that was the cause, but it certainly did occur that day. The company that showed up showed up about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, worked till 11 o'clock at night, and rolled out of there. So not even sure if the company was licensed, bonded, etc., but that occurred the same day. And discarded smoking material on the back deck. There was a 3-story attached deck on the Charlie side of this structure. The mother is a known smoker. She goes outside, smokes on the back deck, puts her ashes out in a planter, if you will. But the husband articulated that he pays close attention to that and doesn't think that was an issue. The residence, and we'll get to a picture here in a minute. It's a basic 2.5-story Class 5 private dwelling. It's in a non-hydrated area of St. Mary's County. There's no hydrants. It's all rural water supply. On the Alpha side of the house is a front porch and a garage. The Bravo side is largely just a small grade that goes down into the backyard, but there is a casement type window at the basement level on the Bravo side. That's it. Charlie's side has a 3-story deck, as I said. It also has a bump out on the CD corner of the structure. There is a basement, and the basement entrance is a walkout slider on side Charlie. And then the Delta side is a small grade. And this is the only picture we have in the house. There were literally, through the real estate magazines, there was just nothing that we could find This is the best picture that we have of the house prior to the fire, and it's not completely accurate. I would say you can see the bump out on the CD corner. What you won't see is a 3-story deck on the back corner, but 2,500 square feet, that's about the gist of that. There were working smoke alarms. The smoke alarms were tied in to a monitoring company. And what happened prior to this fire was there was a lightning storm that came in. Ricky, you may want to, I think maybe the lightning page is coming up here shortly. But there was a storm that came through St. Mary's, the East Coast, Mid-Atlantic, which where we're located. Our biggest threat is thunderstorms. Strong thunderstorms occur every day in this region, and is probably the most common thing that we deal with. I think Ricky and I could do a lot of complaining about cold weather down here over the last few days, but you guys would laugh at us, so we'll leave that one alone. But anyway, the thunderstorm comes through. There's a big a burst of thunder and lightning that wakes an adult daughter up on the second floor of this house. There are 3 people who live here, mom, dad, and an adult daughter. The daughter wakes up and she looks out the window and she sees what she describes as the whole back of the house is on fire. She yells for her father. The father gets up and runs across the street to get a neighbor to come back and help him get his wife out. His wife has mobility issues. So he didn't call 911. He ran across the street, woke the neighbor up, got the neighbor. They came back to the house to get the wife out. And it's about at this point that they say that the smoke started to come into the house on the second floor. That activated the smoke alarm on the second floor, called the alarm company. The alarm company made a call to 911. And the box was set up initially as a 1-in-1 response for an automatic alarm. But then there were multiple phone calls that came in after the alarm company that indicated the house was on fire. So the box was filled right away, and that's about where that issue lies. So with that said, and with that background, here's a picture of a Ring camera across the street. This is before the first engine arrives. I know it's not a really good picture. You will not have any issues seeing the structure of the building. Once we get to the videos and the pictures, you'll make it out perfectly, because the volume of fire from start to finish was such that there was no issue with being able to identify it. But Ricky, you can move on to the next slide. That's at 4:05. We get the 911 upgrade to the box alarm assignment, and that brought with it 4 engines, 2 trucks, a rescue squad, which in our region is a heavy duty rescue squad, and at least 3 tankers. A couple transport units were all on the initial box. Next slide, Ricky. And Ricky, jump in if I miss something, please. Chief 1, who's going to be the incident commander, his name is Chris Bell. What a fine young man. Has been part of the fire service since he was 16 years old. A good person, good human. He's a career firefighter in Prince George's County. And I would say this, he's a very conscientious, smart young man. And I think one of the lessons that those of us who have been in the business a while, this was easy to learn about Chris. Chris has kept up with training, standards, certifications. If there's a requirement, Chris has it. Chris spends a large part of his time in a busy urban, suburban fire department as a firefighter. He makes a lot of work, but but I think we can all remember what it's like to be the backstep firefighter when you pull up and almost in a mechanical sense, you show up and you say, I'm the lineman today and I can put this fire out. You don't think of anybody but yourself, and you're expecting that there are other supervisors there to make sure you don't do something stupid. And then you get in your car at the end of the shift and you drive home. And now he's a volunteer chief and he's an incident commander. And to be able to switch that hat is very, very difficult, especially when all of your mechanical cognitive skills says, oh, I've been in a situation like that. I know what I did. I pulled a hose line, I went inside, and I put the fire out. And then try to switch that hat to be a strategic incident commander and have to consider all those things. So Chris gets the call, jumps in his car right away. His action is to head to the firehouse. He had rightfully said, you know, first thing I got to do is get the fire truck out. So he was going to go and drive. While he's en route to the firehouse to drive, they call him, tell him they're getting multiple calls. They believe he's going to work. And at the same time, he hears the engine company mark up on the as responding. And so he makes a U-turn and heads to the incident scene. Go ahead, Rick. He arrives on location, takes a position in the driveway on side Alpha, has a good position, and he'll give a very clear, concise, I'm going to use the word mechanical, but Ricky, go ahead and play it.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think it's playing over for some reason.
Okay, we'll adapt. We'll adapt on the fly.
And those are on the page, right?
Yes, sir.
For the report,
Yep.
they can go and I'll put the report page in the link so they
Excellent.
can go and look at that or in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian. Chris goes on scene, provides a good BIR of a 2.5 story private dwelling. He communicates he's got fire on Division 1 and Division 2, and that he'll be out completing his 360. Now he's parked in the driveway, a decent position to see everything, and he establishes command. So next slide, Rick. Chris gets out of the car. Nobody is on scene yet, obviously, and he starts to conduct his 360. He walks around the Bravo side. He sees the presence of that window, but sees no conditions from there. He gets to the back and provides his 360 report. Ricky, do you have that slide by chance where it's transcribed?
Yeah, it's not showing.
No, you're there you go. Got 3 in the rear, side Charlie access, basement, and he corrects himself. Basement access to the walkout, heavy fire in the rear. So I wanna pause on this one.
Let me give this a chance, Larry. I think I fixed it.
Okay. I see it playing. I don't.
Yeah, still nothing, Ricky.
I'll keep chatting while Ricky tries to work through it.
Okay.
So we spoke to Chris. Let me say this. It addresses in the report that in this region, in the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. region, we had 8 firefighter fatalities in the past 4 years. 2 of them in particular occurred in close proximity. One was goodness sakes. One was Nate Flynn in Howard County, Maryland, who died in an unchecked basement fire. And the other was Josh Laird. Nate Flynn died in July of 18, and in July of 21, Josh Laird in Frederick County, Maryland, walked into a house, fell through the floor into the basement. Both of those fires were related to corrugated steel tubing. They both followed a a lightning strike. But with all of the fatalities, in a very frustrating way, basement fires in the Mid-Atlantic are disastrous for firefighters, and they don't need to be. It's unnecessary, and in almost every situation of these 8, and most of them were basement fires, they were operating above an unknown, unchecked basement fire, and there are very few departments in the Mid-Atlantic region who don't have a heightened sense of basement operations. So in this particular piece, Chris Bell reports that he's got heavy fire on side Charlie and no conditions in the basement. Now, as we talked to Chris about basement conditions, he said, I didn't look in there. I didn't try to open the slider. I didn't look in the basement. I was back a distance. I saw the glass was blacked out. That's what he described. He didn't say whether the glass was blacked out because of heat or smoke, or whether it was blacked out so that the sun didn't come through. But in either way, it is largely a policy in most regional departments around here that before an interior attack is made, that the basement has to be physically checked. Chris knows this. This is not a policy in St. Mary's. There are largely no policies in St. Mary's County. Chris knows this. He works in an organization that requires it. But he did say that he did not make an effort to absolutely confirm one way or another whether there were any conditions in the basement. He just communicated heavy fire, side Charlie. Walked around the house, walked up the Delta side, and got back into his buggy. Said he got his command board out, started writing down the companies when the first engine pulled in. Ricky, you can go to the next slide. Engine 1 arrives. They're the first due engine, and he tells them to come into the driveway, take a position behind him, leave room for the truck. And you'll see engine 1 stretching into 3/4 line. Ricky, you can play the video. It'll give you really a first good look at the conditions when they arrive on scene.
The Chickadee Medical First Responders request for priority 1 at 6803 Lawrence Road, 6803 Lawrence Road, across the prairie on a 30-year-old female, multiple seizures, priceless care on Ontario Spirit and 20.
While you're watching it, the driver of the engine is a pretty experienced career firefighter in one of our military bases. He's a shift commander level. He's driving the engine. The officer is a young kid, 18 years old, 19 years old, and he's got 3 other kids on the back step, anywhere between 16, 17 years old on the back step. I think the interesting thing with this, and here's a good picture. This is arrival conditions, and trust me, you'll see more clearly. The interesting thing about this is you hear not once in the audio as you listen to this, not once but twice. There are 2 16-year-old kids on the back step of this engine. Look, St. Mary's County is very rural. They do not go to a lot of fires. So think of these young kids, and they ask the officer, hey, shouldn't we take the line to the rear into the basement? And the officer says, no, we've been told to take the line to the first floor. I say that to say this. During the investigation in Josh Laird's line of duty death in Frederick, the company didn't complete a 360 and so was largely unaware of a basement. But during the investigation and the interview, I listened to a brand new rookie firefighter who said, I pulled up, I looked at the size of the house, and I say to myself now, why wouldn't there be a basement in this place, right? And I know that not all parts of the world have basements. They are prevalent here, and they get us in tons of trouble here. And so it seems like in that situation, in this situation, there are young kids who are learning about this. They have the knowledge, and their instinct is saying, hey, I ought to think about a basement in this situation. And officers riding the front seat of a rig are really blindsided by this. So they stretch the line and they start to hit it hard in the front yard. You can see a picture of that. It's 1.75 inches, and that's their action. Ricky, I don't know if you have any. Oh, you'll play this video. So here's an interesting switch. Engine 13. I'm not going to get into the big details of this. Engine 13 is third due, but they're going to show up second and request to be switched positions. The incident commander is going to approve it. There is some lack of communications, but again, for those of us who study these reports, I can't tell you how walking away from arrival assignments and not having a process to change positioning arrival order, and more importantly than not having a process for doing it, not making a habit out of doing it, acknowledging that there's times when it's appropriate, but how many line of duty deaths have we seen where the switching of arrival orders has caused the type of confusion that it does? Anyway, engine 132, 13, which Bryce is on that. I think I got feedback. Yeah, thank you. Bryce is on engine 13 and he calls the incident commander, said, hey, I'm going to arrive a second. Do you want me to take second due? The boss says, yep, you take second due. And so he gives them a directive. When you get here, go ahead and stretch a backup line to support engine 1. Ricky, I think there's video to this here. Was there video in that other one? What did you just play?
No, that was just the picture.
Okay, it's just the picture. As you start to watch the video, there's a couple things to pay attention to. And I think it's going to be obvious to us, but again, let me say, we watched the video. They didn't, but I also don't want to sugarcoat this. There were glaringly obvious signs from the very beginning of this incident of the severe degradation of the integrity of that structure. And you'll see it in this video, from racking of windows to large portions of the house where the drywall has already been burnt through. You'll see studs, 2x4 studs in the walls where the drywall is burned away, and there's about, a 1/4 inch in the studs. So throughout the video, pay attention to the structural integrity. There are glaring signs from the minute they arrived that the integrity is already gone on this. So engine 1's got that line in the front yard. They're hitting it from the front yard. The truck company shows up next out of Leonardtown. Again, the officer is a kid. I don't know how else to say it. He's 18 or 19 years old, and he's got 2 or 3 other 16 or 17-year-olds on the back step of the truck as well. They get there. They mechanically ladder a couple windows, right? They throw a couple ladders because I'm on a truck. That's what I'm supposed to do. And throughout the incident, with zero leadership from the officer, they largely stand. They don't do anything of any impact. Not that there's a lot of things to do, but go ahead and play the video, Rick. So the question is about, is it known that all occupants are out? It is known probably not long after this. And again, if you're going to ask the question, well, what are we doing? I'll always say this, right? It's fair for us to ask, what are we doing? We're not here, so we can't necessarily answer for everybody. It was the incident commander. We asked him, what was your goals? What was your plan for this? He communicated that, well, I wanted us to do a transitional attack until we could darken some of the fire down. and then move in to get a search. We asked him the question, what do you think is survivable in that house? And he pointed to a bedroom window on the second floor, on the Alpha Bravo side of this structure. And he said there was one window in the entire house where fire wasn't coming out, but there was moderate amount of smoke. He saw that as an opportunity of space for a search. There were several things wrong with his plan. I mean, it wasn't 2 seconds later that room erupted in fire, as you would imagine. One is, if he wanted the companies to transition, he never communicated that. He assigned them the Division I and then assigned a truck company to get in and support the search, right? So he never communicated that he wanted a transition at that. Second thing was, if you select a window and say that is an option for me, that is an opportunity for me to vent enter search for a survivable space, right? That's the survivable space in a structure is about a targeted search. He never communicated that strategy. He assigned a truck and a rescue squad to do search. So what did they do? They lined up behind the hose line going in the front door and figured, well, this is how we start searches. This is how we do things. So again, the incident commander said he had a strategy, but he certainly never communicated that to the companies. Ricky, next slide. So as they push from the outside, they put the fire out on the porch. Now, this is not a fully enclosed porch, but you can see it's got a nice overhang on it. You'll see as you get closer the crocodiling of the exterior wood. I mean, the porch is nearly burnt to where there's nothing to it, but they were able to extinguish the porch fire and felt that was progress. So then they advanced up onto the porch with the thought of getting water interior to darken it down again, and all for the goal of getting inside to do that. By now, the second, it says Tanker 6, they are an engine company. They arrive on the scene, and the incident commander directs them to stretch a line to side Charlie and gives them the direction to control the fire on side Charlie. What you'll see in the video is, from a strategy standpoint, what the incident commander was trying to accomplish with a hose line in the rear while he's making an interior attack is flanking, right? And again, I don't want to use terminology that is unique to the Mid-Atlantic. I don't know if it's unique or not. Flanking is something we would use commonly in this area on row homes and townhomes, where you have a large volume of fire on side Charlie, like an outside in fire, where companies are standing perpendicular to the structure, applying water from the sides to sides, from Bravo to Delta or Delta to Bravo, not directing a hose stream into the structure where they're actually trying to push in the front door. You'll watch in the video here, that's exactly what they did. They had opposing hose lines. They were flowing water directly into the structure from the Charlie side, as opposed to flanking it. And the incident commander double checks and makes sure that there's a company going to the fill site, which happens to be a hydrant. Again, look at the volume of fire. You're going to get much better video. You're going to see much clearer. But an 1 3/4 inch with a straight stream, nothing, right? 185, 190 gallons a minute, depending whether they're using slug tips or something like that. It makes no progress. But because they extinguished the wood product on the porch, right? The wainscoting and that type of stuff, they interpreted that as, all right, we're making good progress. Next slide, Ricky. So at this time, another volunteer chief arrives. That's Chief 3B. The incident commander is going to assign him to Division 1. Again, he says, you're going to go to Division 1. You have Engine 1, Truck 1, and Rescue Squad 3. but communicates no strategy, no goals for them to accomplish. So that occurs at the same time. There is Chief 7A, and he'll come into this picture after the May Day, but very capable, very good, strong company officer. He arrives, kind of walks up to the buggy to talk to the incident commander. And the third volunteer chief arrives. That's Chief 9B. He is a county safety officer. He's pretty well known in the county. And when he shows up on the scene, he's one of those that people say, hey, you take safety. And that's what happened. He showed up. The incident commander told him to take safety. And we'll watch video of him start his 360. Next slide. So command calls engine 132. This is going to be Bryce. When I talk about 132, I'm going to be specifically talking about Bryce Trossback, who is an acting officer that day. Bryce is a firefighter, and in that system of the federal fire department, it is not uncommon for them to put a firefighter in the front seat to act up as that day. They arrive on scene. The incident commander calls Bryce 3 times to make sure he understood. I want you to get a backup line and support engine 1. Bryce was on the wrong radio channel. He was on the Naval District channel instead of the St. Mary's County channel. And so it took him a minute to answer, but he finally comes back to the right radio channel and says, yes, I understand you want me to back up engine 1 on division 1. The rescue company shows up at the same time, and he assigns the rescue company to support the search with the truck company. And Ricky's got some video here. This is going to be the crew from 13, the Naval District. They're going to get a line off of engine 1. They're going to pull their second line off of engine 1 and back them up. Engine 1's on the front porch at this time. Okay. Believe it or not, there's really only one transmission, and this is going to be critical. There are multiple officers. There are 2 companies on side Delta. There's a safety officer on side Delta. There's multiple chiefs on side Alpha. There's 3 company officers all on the front porch. There's really one transmission that is ever made to the incident commander throughout this incident. One. And it is that they're making good headway. This is when they've made their way up to the porch. They consider that and communicated that as we're making good headway. Again, they're not lying. It's about what they understand that they're seeing and a complete lack of experience to not know what they don't know and a complete lack of knowledge of what they even do know at this point. Throughout this incident, there is not a single transmission outside of that one from anybody on the scene communicating visibly what they're seeing, communicating integrity issues, communicating the fact that they are not making any progress, any needs. None of that stuff is communicated throughout this incident. No CAN reports, if you will. No command and control feedback between the incident commander and the company officer. Go ahead, Rick. Oh, I'm sorry. Go back one. I want to, this is an important piece. Because of the switching of companies, Engine 6 shows up on the scene and says, well, he never told us what to do. Like, we didn't get an assignment from the incident commander. So we're going to go with our other engine from our house that's on side Delta, and we're just going to help them with their assignment. They don't communicate that to the incident commander. The incident commander hadn't given them assignment. They just showed up, and because there is no SOG for what they're supposed to do, they said, well, our other engine 6 is down on the Delta side. Let's go down and help them out with that line. at just prior to the collapse, the incident commander calls engine 6 and says, "Where are you?" And he says, "Oh, we're with tanker 6 on the Charlie Delta corner." And he says, "Okay, I need you to be RIT." So the officer says, "All right, so we're standing down on the Charlie Delta side of this. We don't have any equipment." So he tells his crew, "All right, let's walk back up the road to where we came from and start to gather RIT equipment." When they start walking up the side of the house to go get RIT equipment is when the collapse occurs and the mayday occur. So there was no RIT in place. There was no equipment at the time of this, even though the incident commander had just assigned a company to do that. Thank you, Ricky. Next slide. The first kid on the nozzle, God bless all these young kids. The young man who had the nozzle from the start, you'll see that this kid is doing everything in the front yard. You know, he's got the front yard, starts to make his way up onto the porch. There's got to be 9 or 10 people standing around him, and not a single person puts their hands on their hose. I say that to say that this kid has been flowing water for a minute or two now by himself, trying to drag the line. Plenty of people there to help him. Nobody does. And so he's going to get up on the porch. You'll see this video. He's going to flow the line in the front door a little bit. And then he gets exhausted and said, "Hey, I'm tapping out," and gives the line to the firefighter behind him, who happens to be another young man, another 16, 17-year-old kid. So you'll see that in here. The other thing that you're going to see with this is Bryce and has 2 firefighters with him. They stretch a second line to the front yard, and I don't know why this happened, but Bryce told his 2 firefighters, "I want you guys to go up on the porch and get in that window. There was a window left of the door. You 2 get your line and you go in that window. I'm going to get on the line with one's crew." So he sends his 2 firefighters up onto the porch. They push a line through the window onto the first floor with one of the firefighters inside, while Bryce is on the front porch trying to get through the front door. So he has his firefighters operating by themselves. Obviously, Bryce is not here to explain why that. I will say this again, because I think although we try not to make these things emotional or personal, it was a question that Bryce's mother asked me when I sat with her and presented the board. She wanted to know what her boy did wrong, and I explained that I'm going to share with her what I think he did wrong, and at the same time said, you know, Bryce isn't here to explain. I can't think of many justifications for that, but it's an action that he took. So Bryce has now got his 2 firefighters, one of the 2 have crawled through the front window and has a line. You'll see all this in the video, why Bryce is going to go in or try to get in on engine 1's line. Ricky, go ahead. Again, he's right at the front door. So look at the interior of this house. The drywall's gone. The wall studs are burnt next to nothing. That's a second floor right above his head. He's on the first floor. You can look right in through the second floor. That wouldn't naturally be able to do that. Again, ample sign. Look at the air entrainment that's going on here. I mean, just some incredible video of the volume and velocity of this fire. He's made it about 1 or 2 feet inside the house. Look at the ineffectiveness of the hose string. And actually, at this point in time, there's 2 inch and 3/4 in here. That crew to 13 is to the left of this young man. Look at the volume and the velocity of the fire in this place. And again, the ineffectiveness of the line. And throughout this, I will say this, throughout this investigation, I can't tell you the number of times that we heard from the young kids and from the officers, this was a 1 or 2 line fire. That in their experience, this is a 1 or 2 line fire. And then they should have, if they did it right, they should have just been able to walk in and make quick work of this fire. Again, constantly throughout. No, chief, they would say this to us, chief, this is a 2 line fire, right? Okay. The other thing that if we had sound, if you listen to this, what you're going to hear in there is Bryce Trossback yelling, "What are you doing? Make the push." So Bryce is about 2 or 3 people back. Throughout this whole time, there's only one kid in that house. No other person, no other officer, everybody else is standing on the porch right behind him. Bryce in particular is saying, get the F in the building, make the push. What are you waiting for? You'll hear Bryce constantly yapping about that in the front yard if the video were to work. So number one, the kid on the line gets tired. He says, "I'm out. Somebody else take the line." He hands it to kid number two. Number two, after yelling from Bryce, is going to hear, and let me say this, Bryce is his cousin. And he looks up to Bryce and he said, "I hear Bryce behind me saying, 'Get in or get out. Get in or give me the line.'" And he says, I push in, and you'll watch him push in. And again, this is a 16-year-old kid. He's going to stand there for about 45 seconds in the middle of the living room and get his hind parts kicked. Not only is he not making any progress with the fire, his gear is starting to off gas. The people on the porch see his gear off gassing. And when you listen to the audio, you'll hear him say, "Hey, you're burning up. Come outside." Go ahead, Ricky.
Hey, Chief Schultz, this is the Squad 3's walk around.
Okay, you're
Then
going
it's
to
the
do
next
squad 3. All right, so here's the thing with squad 3's walk around, Ricky. I want, when you play squad 3's, is it the one that says Sergeant 3 helmet cam?
Yep. Yes.
Can you stop that at 216? This is a really good
Okay.
video of walking down side Delta, and you will see the back of the house. This is where you'll get your first good look at what's going on side Charlie. That is the bump out on side Charlie right there. You can see Delta. Look at the racking of the windows, the listing of the walls. Nobody says anything. Nobody provides any feedback to the incident commander on this one. Again, glaringly obvious that the integrity of this structure was lost before they ever got there. These guys are waiting for their hose line. That's that engine 6. They're waiting for their hose line to be charged. They're just waiting on water. That it, Rick?
Yep. Here's your firefighter 2.
Okay, so firefighter 2 is going to say, you would hear him say, "I'm burning up in here." Bryce is standing behind him. So when this kid makes his exit, Bryce is going to take the line. Go ahead. Now this is firefighter 2. He's inside. He's going to try to make a little bit more progress. I mean, there is nothing holding that first floor up. There's nothing in that house. This kid is going to stand in this jet stream for about 40 seconds before he finally says, "I'm burning up. I got to go." Bryce is going to take the line from him. When he shuts it down and steps outside, Bryce is going to take the line from him. But not after giving it a go. a hugely important side piece here. This young man, just a wonderful little 16-year-old kid. His father worked for me when I was in Washington, D.C. And he's telling his story, and he's saying, I'm standing inside and I feel like I'm incinerating. But I remember my father telling me, look, this is not the cause of the fire here. This didn't lead to Bryce's tragedy. It is gonna be a broader point that we talk about, and that is, he said, I remember when I joined the volunteers, I remember my father telling me, if you ever give your line up to somebody else, I'll kick your ass. And he said, I'm standing there burning up, and I'm thinking, I can't leave. Right? My father says, now his father is deceased. He doesn't live anymore. He died young. But that's what he tells his kid, and that's what's on this kid's mind. Luckily, the only thing his officer did, the only thing of value throughout this incident that his officer did, who was also an 18 or 19-year-old kid, is to say, hey, back out of here, your gear's catching on fire. So let me set up, because here's where the collapse is going to occur. At this point in time, there are 4 people on the first floor. I'm sorry, 3. There's the firefighter from the Navy district that Bryce sent through the window. He's on the first floor. He's got a line flowing, making absolutely zero progress. The second person is Bryce. Bryce is now taking the line, makes it about 2 or 3 feet in the door before he drops to his knees, right? He's going to spend time on his knees with the line trying to put the fire out. And then the division supervisor, who was Chief 3B, he's going to walk in the front door and do absolutely nothing and just stand on the first floor. So Ricky, go ahead. You're going to see, this is what you're going to see from the Delta side, right? You're going to watch the collapse here. Remember, they're operating on the first floor. You did see the safety officer walk by here. He was a white helmet. Here you go. Now you see you see that second floor drop. Ricky, can you hold there for a second? Just hold on the picture. There were a couple things about this. The safety officer in the interview says, I walked alongside Delta and immediately I could see that this thing was going to collapse. So what did he do? He continued to walk down beside Charlie just to make sure. And then when he said to himself, this thing's getting ready to come down, he said, I walked back to the command vehicle to tell him he needs to get everybody out there. Did you have a radio with you? Yes, I did. Did you understand the urgency of getting that information back to the incident commander? Yes, I did. Why didn't you try to communicate on the radio? Well, I couldn't get through. Let me say this. We have the transcripts. We have the audio log. We know when people were honked out. We know when people were trying to make transmissions. There is no indication whatsoever that particular safety officer ever made an attempt to communicate the severity of the situation on side Charlie and Delta. He walked back up the Delta side to the car, and as soon as he got to the car, he opened the door, got out of his mouth, you need to pull them out, when the collapse occurred. As far as the collapse goes, the report says, and this is how we feel, we don't know how the collapse occurred. In other words, we don't know whether the second floor pancaked, fell down into the first floor on top of Bryce, and then pancaked down into the basement. Or there is more than sufficient information to reach the conclusion that there was a well-involved basement fire, that there was significant fire in the basement all at the same time. So we don't know whether the basement floor collapsed followed by the upper floor. That we don't know. But what you saw there is the second floor comes down. That leads to the first floor going down. So Ricky, let's flip to the next slide. We have, I'm going to ask Ricky in a minute to play a specific video. At this point in time, and you'll hear this and you'll see it. There is a ton of screaming on the front porch, yelling, screaming, just amazing amount. And Chief 7A, who happened to be standing at the car, he hadn't gotten a job yet, says, let me go see what's going on. As he goes to walk up on the porch and see what's going on, the incident commander, because the safety officer said, you got to get those people out of there, the incident commander calls everybody and says, evacuate the building. He does not know Bryce has dropped through the floor. He doesn't know anybody was in there when the collapse occurred. So he calls for an evacuation. But Chief 7A, who is going to end up leading the RID operations, goes up on the porch and says, who was in there, right? Trying to find out what was going on. You could hear people yelling Mayday verbally. You could hear people screaming. But at no point in time did anybody get on the radio and say, Mayday, 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 we had a firefighter fall through the floor. Not until Chief 7A does it. Ricky, can you pull up Sergeant 3 helmet cam? And let me know when you got it pulled up. Can you start that at 2 minutes and 16 seconds? Or not, I'm sorry, not that one. Yes. Play Sergeant 3 helmet cam from the time he gets back to the front yard. That's probably good there. You can probably hit it there. Now what you're going to see here is this officer who's on the rescue squad. He sees what's going on side Delta. He's going to walk around side. He's going to walk around to the Alpha side, and that's really where you'll see the collapse from the Alpha side occur. Right? He's looking at that Charlie Delta, having a quick conversation, and then you're going to see him walk back to Alpha. And when he walks back to Alpha is when you'll see the collapse on the Alpha side. I can't stress enough. There's great audio, so when you get a chance, the audio tells a ton also. So right about here, you can see that flash, and then you see drop. And if you were listening to it, this is where you would hear people screaming, Mayday, Mayday. You can hear them screaming Bryce's name. Stop right there, Ricky. These what you see right there, Bryce is falling through the floor. Those are the two firefighters from Engine 1 trying to reach down and grab him. Keep playing. All right, he's out of the building now. Would you switch to 8th District Chief video?
Yep.
And what you're going to see in this video is the Division 1 supervisor who's going to walk inside the first floor prior to the collapse. You'll see Bryce operating the line on his knees, and you will actually see the collapse occur. And this is the last video we'll look at. It's a longer video, so just bear with it as he gets dressed and makes his way up to the front porch before he can get himself inside. He's making his way up to the front porch. There's about 5 or 6 people in front of him. He's trying to figure out what's going on. He's like, what's going on? Well, we got a line in here. Basically we got a line going. That's about the extent. This is his helmet cam from inside of the structure on the first floor. Again, the video is showing you all points of the critical elements of the structure, how they're already, severely degraded. One thing that's going to happen with Bryce is right before the collapse, fire breaks through below it. That's how we know there was a significant amount of fire in the basement. And you'll see here in a minute, right here is where you'll see stuff drop from the ceiling, and then the floor will drop and Bryce will drop. Guys, again, the video, for whatever reason, the video is super grainy on here. There you go. You can see that the entire ceiling drops and Bryce drops into the basement. That is where the structure collapses. But the video is very clear. When you can watch it not on the computer, again, there's so much to be told from the audio and the clarity of the video that you may or may not be getting with this. Ricky, if there's another slide, you can move on. But here's kind of how it unfolds. The rest of it. That was the collapse. A Mayday is declared. There is an effort led to get Bryce. They know they got to get in the basement because there's no other way to get him. They do initially. And throughout the incident, they take a hose line, they put it right down into that collapse. And throughout the incident, they flow a hose line in the hole where Bryce has gone down. They did that right away, and they continue to do that throughout the incident. They make their first attempt through that window on side Bravo that I talked about. They sent 2 firefighters in there. They crawled in about 2 or 3 feet and said, there's too much debris, we can't get back to it. There was a front end loader that was literally 2 houses up the street. A guy showed up with a front end loader, very quick into this. And so they sent the front end loader around back and said, hey, take that rear wall down so we can start to descale our way in there. Meanwhile, while they knew that was going to take time, they put a ladder down into the hole from the front door. Eventually, they were able to get a firefighter down who located Bryce. Bryce was covered under an extensive amount of debris. He called back and said, Bryce is not moving. I don't hear any air moving in and out of his cylinder. I'm going to put on a RIT pack, which they did. They attached him to a RIT pack, and he confirmed he could hear no air exchange. At that point, they realized that at this point in time, they're going to be in a recovery. That's probably about 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes into the Mayday or RIT when they get the air pack on them. And they realize, excuse me, there's going to be no other way to get Bryce out. He's trapped under too much debris. So they start a descaling operation on side Charlie, where they just move debris out until they can eventually get to Bryce, some 45 minutes later. They get him. He's covered under an extensive amount of debris. He's removed, transported to the hospital, and pronounced dead. PPE was significantly damaged, burnt through. Again, all because he had a tremendous amount of burning debris on top of him. That's largely what we believe happened. So 60 minutes after the Mayday, 75 minutes after the Mayday, they're able to put him in a Stokes basket, carry him out of the basement, where he's transported to the hospital. That is really in a nutshell what occurred. Again, I encourage everybody. The videos in the report offer incredible clarity. The audios, you can hear what people are thinking and saying. It just got a little bit rainy on here, and so we apologize for that. As far as the recommendations, you can read the report. Doesn't make any sense to go into this. The couple biggest things I will mention. As 7 independent corporations, there were many attempts over the last bunch of years to establish countywide SOGs, and why 2 or 3 would agree to it. There were always 3 or 4 who said, nope, we're not doing it. It's not how we do things here. So on the day of this fire, this county had no standard operating guidelines, and incidents operated differently from department to department. And in essence, they said, hey, if we call you, just show up and we'll tell you what to do. There was no interest in unified policies. So obviously the first and foremost recommendation is going to be for written policies, right? And again, we're just baffled by that. You all are baffled by that. How's it going today? I think, and Ricky has his finger on it more than I do. There are probably 4 or 5 companies now who are like, yes, let's do this. Yet there still remains 1 or 2 who say we will absolutely not do this. So, which leads to the second recommendation was there has to be some oversight in this jurisdiction. There has got to be somebody to break the jam log. We don't propose who that is, but good Lord, they have a county executive in place who funds these people, who has the authority to deal with this issue. And throughout this incident, even in the briefing with them, there was largely a feeling to not take that liability on, to let the fire companies operate as they are. Again, baffling with this. Obviously, Ricky and I are huge proponents of Blue Card. That is a recommendation in this one. That is a recommendation I had in the Frederick County one. These are kids. And even if they're not kids, they're people largely without a lot of operational experience. They play the role of command and have no idea what the role entails. So, Ricky, you can chime in on anything. I know you were working on the trying to get the video and stuff going, and then Brian, we'll kick it back over to you.
Perfect. Go ahead, Ricky.
So I guess the one thing is that if when Brian sends a report out, all the audio and video is all by QR code, so that's all still loaded up, so you can get to go. The big thing that I always try to push, like after Chief Schultz is done, is that being involved in some line of duty death reports, I would say this was probably the most honest, open, and without any clutter. There was no union to say, hey, don't answer that. Nobody brought a lawyer. They were very, very open. Like Chief Schultz said, we probably did 70 to 75 interviews with NIOSH and Murray together, and went through all this, and nobody said, hey, I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to give you helmet cam video. All this information came to us. As the report went on, we just kept getting more video, more pictures, and a lot of things that we couldn't put together. Because I can tell you the very first day, the interviews were with the Naval District of Washington, Pax River Station, and the engine crew said they went in through this window and they were inside the building. And I think both Chief Schultz, myself, all the interviewers there did not believe this for a heartbeat, that they actually made it in this window and were inside, because we would have thought, hey, if they were inside, they should be in the basement also, or at least have some injuries. And then, of course, as we got more video, that's when we were able to actually see the firefighter from 132 is actually inside the building. So I give a lot of credibility to Leonardtown and to the St. Mary's Fire Service for what they did and how honest they were, because I have been in a lot of these line of duty deaths where people won't answer at least open-ended questions, but we were able to capture all that. Chief Schultz does a much better job than I do. Some days these kids were breaking my heart every day with their discussion. So it was a pretty rough week. So
So let me jump on what Ricky just said because he was right. He took that very hard. I think we all took it very hard. And here was an important third thing that I want, I'll communicate to this group. We all do a lot of advocating for SOGs, tactical discipline, accountability, blue card. We do all that stuff. What we largely saw here was a group of people who believed with all their heart, from the officer to the incident commander to the young kids, that they were highly competent, highly experienced firefighters. Not because they weren't. Their St. Mary's County is a farming water community. They are largely have an influx, as I said, of the career people from DC and PG, Montgomery, Howard, Anne Arundel, all these departments. And older firefighters who love to sit around the table and regurgitate things about experience that are not even their own. They're stories that they heard. And I'm gonna, Brian, this will resonate with you. I happened to be at FDIC when Ray did his keynote speech, and of course everybody knows the after impact of the culture of extinguishment. And I was sitting with a couple people. One is a very senior chief in a big department who I respect the hell out of. And he explained it this way. He said, hey, what do you think of this or that? He said to me, when he said the things he did, when he talked about, yes, James Dunning-Kruger, 100%, that is in every slide I talk about, illusionary superiority, this cognitive thing of I'm better than I think I am. But they sit around the table, they listen to stories of the other firefighters in their company who are career firefighters or older firefighters who tell stories, or their fathers who say, if you ever do this, I'll kick your ass. This, they believe, is their experience. It's real. It's what they know. But to get back to the FRI story, what this older chief said to me is, you and I know what he's talking about up there on that stage. We know how to put it in context, right? Every one of you here has heard the phrase, if you give the line up, I'll kick your hind parts. And yet we all know that at 118 degrees, our skin starts to feel pain. And I don't care how tough of a guy you are. 118, 119, 120, you're up and out of there. We all are, right? But the disservice we are doing to younger, inexperienced people by telling stories, by making statements, by, this is a 1 or 2 line fire, without ever being able to provide or back it up with an ounce of context, is hurting people. It is causing them to have this illusion of superiority, where they pull up on a house like that at 17 years old to say, come on, this is a bread and butter fire. So, Ryan, that's it. I'm done.
No, it's great points. It really hits home for a lot of us here. We have departments making progress and others that seem to be going backwards. A friend of mine said last week, the gap isn't narrowing, the gap is widening between departments right now, between departments pushing for standards and those that are pushing against standards. We actually had a fire chief send a letter to the Fire Chiefs Association last month, says, you cannot hold me to any standards. Don't ask. So it's good stuff. There's something I want to read out of your report here, a couple lines. One was, this wasn't your report, but this was the headline from the newspaper. Death of firefighter was not accidental. It was inevitable in clumsy St. Mary's fire system. That resonates with me big time, because if you remember the Woodmere, Long Island line of duty death of Joe Stanford, it was kind of the same headline. Report details chaos at fire scene was that report. And, here we see this. So we're not learning from these. That's the bad part. You know, we keep putting these line of duty death reports out. But you know, and that's where we're at. And then this other one, recommendation number 1, and you mentioned this, but I want to just read a part of this. And this is the recommendation for blue card. On one hand, it's inexcusable to suggest that the completion of blue card command or any singular program comes close to being the inadequate benchmark for allowing someone to function as an incident commander. That one, once again, smacks me in the head because, yeah, you can have the certificate, but you still may not be competent. This no way assures that every chief officer would be competent in the role. It would make them aware of what the role entails. So if you guys want to expound on either one of that, please feel free.
Ricky, why don't you start? You brought that back to Clearwater. Why don't you start?
I mean, you can sit in a class and take classes all day long, but you have to have experience. If we don't have experience, you don't have the reps, you don't have the, going through this, following your standard operating procedures, once again, and that has to be every day. The standard operating procedures fit a sparking outlet to a fully involved house. And how you get through those reps, how you get through your experience, I mean, you have to get through that. And if you can't get it through actual fire activity, then it's through simulations. It's through having conversations, studying firegrounds, and look at, attending this thing with Brian, or, going to a class where it teaches you about fires. I mean, we've been asked to speak about this fire more than a couple times already since it's been published, because, those progressive departments want to know about it. They want it. They see the same thing Brian is seeing, is that this is happening in my jurisdiction. This is happening in my area, and I can't get it through people's heads that we have a problem. Let me get somebody from the outside to show it. But, incident commanders have to have experience, and how you get that is entirely up to you and your jurisdiction. So the one thing that I said when we presented this to the chiefs at Leonardtown and the chief of the St. Mary's County Firefighters Association is that, there's two great things about Leonardtown Volunteer Fire Department. It's autonomy and it's autonomy. Is that it's great that you don't have anybody looking over your shoulder or looking over you, but when you run this fire, I want somebody looking over me and making sure that I'm making all the right decisions. It doesn't care if I have 30 years as an incident commander or 3 months as an incident commander. You should have checks and balances in place. For me, for mine is that Chief Schultz is in a neighboring jurisdiction. I don't want him coming to my fire and telling me, I did something wrong. I want to go, all the lessons I've learned, all the things that he's taught me, am I going to make this mistake that we had in Leonardtown? And literally, we didn't have a fire about a couple months after this report got published, and I had people trying to go into this townhouse. I'm like, why? Why are you trying to go in this townhouse? What don't you understand? If we do this, I let you go in here, you get hurt or killed, Chief Schultz is going to write a report about me, and it's not going to be good. And, and he's my friend. And look, we go to breakfast every Saturday, but he will write that report the same way that he wrote this report, whether I'm his friend or not, because that's what you get out of Chief Schultz, is an honest assessment. And that's what this kid needed, was somebody to look over his shoulder, somebody to help him, just prod him along the way of, hey, look up from your computer, look up from your chart, and look at the building and see what's actually happening. And, having that confidant on the fire ground, or having somebody that he's worked together with a lot to go, yeah, something's not right here. We need to change our tactics. So,
Brian, for my point, because I came down and took the training from you, both Dennis Rubin and I. Dennis was the fire chief. I was the operations chief in DC. And God bless this man, Chief Brunacini. Said, hey, come down and take this class. I just want you to see what it's about. I was the operations chief in Washington, D.C. At that point in time, I probably had 24 years on the job. I took the blue card command class, and it was the first time as a career firefighter in a 26-year career in a major urban department that I even knew what the job of the incident commander was. When I was a captain and got turned over in the buggy, it was just like most of you here. Here's the keys, the system, and go do it. And I spent a couple years as an acting battalion chief and a battalion chief as an incident commander. And I couldn't tell you what I couldn't tell you what 3 functions of the incident commander was. Here's what I knew to do. Look at my box assignment and apply the SOGs. And when I went to Blue Card, 26 years into my career was the first time I understood in a tangible way what the role was for an incident commander.
Hey, Larry, I think an important point is that something I think that gets missed a lot is in one of your teachings is that we have standard operating procedures, we operate by them, but and that's to get companies and people in the right places prior to who arriving.
The strategic incident commander.
Yeah, and once he gets there, that person makes the decisions for the fireground. The SOGs don't keep going and function. He just doesn't sit there and watch the SOGs play out. He makes the tactical decisions, assigns the tactical priorities, and goes from there. So, I mean, if you're the 4th due engine and whatever your assignment is, whatever county, state, or where province that you're in, if it says, hey, you take your line to the 2nd floor, if the incident commander tells you not to take it there, the SOG is out the window because the incident commander is the one that makes the tactical decisions for the fireground, regardless of the SOP or general order.
I love that. I absolutely love that. That sums up, and that's kind of a good way to wrap this up, is the incident commander is overall responsible. He's the one overall making the decisions. And I have a great friend that, he says it all the time. He says, I will order you to go home. He said, he says, I have no problem on telling you to pack up and go home if you're not going to play by the rules. And, I'm okay with that. Goldfetter's chiming in here. Let's see what the mustache has to say. Says, I actually had command and control after the training I thought I had for the decades prior. So, yeah, so Billy's been a chief officer since the early 80s and took Blue Card in like 2008, 2009. And, he finally saying he had the control after he thought he had it for prior. So, and not all ICs are created or trained equally. Check your egos, admit when you need help running the scene. And, we operate off a command team concept here, 3 chiefs on the initial alarm. It's probably still not enough, but I tell you this, it's 2 more than I ever had when I started here 6 years ago. And, it definitely helps. So we're getting better every single day. And we have to, we owe it. In the fire service, we say this, never forget, never forget, never forget all the time. Well, I'm sorry, we forgot. If we have the NIOSH top 5 that keep repeating themselves in every line of duty death report from a traumatic incident, then we forgot. We're not special. Every one of us thinks our fire department is special. We are not special. We all have the same problems in the end. We are going, for the most part to the same structure fires. Yeah, you may have some unique building in your area or some unique hazards, but in the end, we got to get over ourselves and check the egos. So, guys, your friendship has always been fantastic. I definitely appreciate you being on here today. If anybody has any questions, throw them in the chat while we wrap up. I wanted to make sure I announced the next one of these is Wednesday, March 25th at 10 a.m. Eastern. It will be leadership development and decision making with Chief Jimmy Moore from the Illinois Fire Service Institute. So if you're not familiar with the LDDM program that Illinois does, it is a spectacular program. I've got to go through the first part of it. And it's all about developing leaders. So, the last 2 of these, we've kind of talked tactics and just fireground decision making. This one's going to be more on the whole leadership end of things. So be good to have Chief Moore with us, and he's a great speaker. So anybody have anything for Chief Schultz or Chief Riley as we wrap up? Billy, phenomenal presentation, guys. Let's see here. I'm just going to read some of these comments as we wrap up. By guys who get it, thanks so much. Chris Kazian out of Colorado, an honor to be invited. Strong work. Appreciate the efforts. So, guys, once again, appreciate it. We'll take care. I'll send out this recording, and you guys can use this in your own department. And please go to the report. Please, 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 because the videos and the audio are there, and it's really good stuff to be able to review with your department. So Thanks a lot. Take care. Stay safe, everyone.
Dang, he must have needed to go.